The following is a presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. Well, a pleasant good evening, everyone. It is Thursday, November 30th, 2023. Welcome to the only show about Spartan Dawgs, hosted by Spartan Dawgs. This is Sparta MSU. I'm your host, Jason Strayhorn, along with my co-host, the boss, Otis Wiley. Jehuu is on assignment today. But listen, we want to welcome to the show. If this is your first time listening or watching us, we absolutely want to welcome you. And if this is not, we really appreciate and thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for your continued support. Please don't forget to subscribe to all of our social media platforms at This Is Sparta MSU. And let's go to the live chat because that's where the party's at. This honestly is a recording because we got a lot of stuff going on. We got a lot of transfer portal news that we got to jump into. But Otis, we have to get into this as this is unfolding by the day about the new hire, Jonathan Smith, who has come over from Oregon State, from Corvallis to Michigan State. And now he's already making his impact known. You missed Tuesday's show. Let's talk about your perspective on the new hire.
Yeah, it's crazy because when is the last time I was on the show? It's been feel like the holiday and all the Ford Field and all the crazy crossover from sports.
It's been too long, man. We missed you.
Yeah, it's been too long. It's all good, but y'all been doing a great job, man. So I've been holding it down. That last show on Tuesday was phenomenal. So I can fall in the background. It's gonna be good. I can just sit there and sit back and relax. But it took me a minute. I'm be honest with you. It took me a minute to process because I've been through a coaching change. You've been through a coaching change. Too as well. And it's business. I get the business. It is the business of collegiate athletics. You're not getting it done. It's, on to the next one. What for me personally is you got to close chapters before you go to the next chapter, right? You can't just, skim and not complete something. And I feel like there was some stuff that happened, the previous staff or even the coaches, Coach B, not saying get a fair shake, but just, treating them with, the respect that, this guy, Coach B, took over just a program in shambles. And, from a standpoint of just out of the respect, it's treating that with the most security, not security, but clarity of just being transparent with them on the situation, right? And so with Coach Smith coming in, everyone kind of knew we do need a new leaf. We need a new chapter. We need new, regime. We need new energy. It's kind of getting rid of the old with the new. And, I've been impressed from how he's handled it. I mean, it's been a quick 3 to 4 days where it feels like it's already been a month where he has been going 1,000 miles per hour. You got to do your due diligence and meeting the appropriate folks, the key stakeholders here at Michigan State, who got him here. And so, that gauntlet of just getting to know absolutely everybody, that is a task at hand. That is a huge, tall task. I do believe he is coming with some new energy from an offensive standpoint, right? You can already know if you look at the stats that he's coming from and bringing, we have been really dead in the past. So for that to kind of get a uplift, a resurrection, I think that's the element that, Spartan Nation is looking to see. Defensively, I think our DNA defensively as Spartans, no matter who is the coach, we will always put out that defensive, front, that defensive outstanding production, regardless of who the D coordinator is. You still have defensive guys that can make plays. It's been historic, but the offensively, defense can't be out there too long, as we've seen, right? So I'm excited to see that aspect of who he's bringing in from a staff standpoint. But I only like my heart goes out to all the guys because I've been through it. We all been through it. Is like the evaluation, the kind of the sitting there waiting kind of thing of like what's the new staff was still not complete. They're building it out, trying to expedite that, trying to get it time to go out on recruiting, and it's just all of that where it's the same kind of noise that we had to deal with when Coach D came in. It was kind of like very quiet, hum, and here are the top 10 people, and he said, she said, who's rumored this, who's that. Now with the transfer portal, which we're going to touch on, it adds another heightened sense of like, man, what's going on? So Coach Smith I think he's saying the right things. He's setting it up to where he's got to build the foundation. And I just want to Spartan Nation, give him a chance, right? You got to give him a chance because it's not overnight. It's not going to get better overnight. It's going to be a brick by brick restacking the foundation.
There's no question about that. It's not going to be easy. He's been very transparent about that. And to your point, you brought up, in with the new, out with the old regime, but in doing so, you felt it sounds like that Harlan Barnett and the staff maybe weren't kept abreast of how things were going to progress, or if they were going to get a fair shot, so to speak, at being the head coach. But it looks like Courtney Hawkins and Harlan Barnett are both negotiating at the present time. Again, this is Thursday afternoon. I know this show is airing tonight. We don't know what may come up, between now and then. However, it seems that they're in the negotiation phases, and Coach Smith has talked about having to get people with Big Ten and Midwest ties and roots on the staff, and how important that is because he doesn't have those. And that's one of the areas that he knows. I mean, do you think that that's a good thing, that he understands at least that point, and you have an opportunity for people with the MSU, that green DNA, to be on this staff?
Listen, we talk all the time about this, is that you have to win your neighboring states, or not win, compete, where you have kids in the state of Michigan going to Power 5 schools, and we're not even considering them. This is the past regime, like past recruiting. We weren't even considering, or they weren't higher on our board. But clearly, they have the talent to go play at the Rutgers of the world, the Marylands of the world. Like at this point, like we're not too high and mighty to go and take a chance on these guys. And some of these guys that are in the neighboring states, they want to play for a home team inside. So it from a family decision standpoint, families could drive and watch them play. So for us, I think that's a good opportunity for him to really put his feet down and say, we are going to get back to the roots, the Coach D's of the world, like Ohio. They're like, think about Michigan. Like they got guys from Ohio that got passed up by Ohio State, and they are balling and beating Ohio State. And I think that's the element, getting back to the grittiness of a blue collar neighboring states, the Indiana, the Ohio's, and then obviously Michigan, and still you got guys in Pennsylvania. Like, how can we make sure we're at least majority winning those states, and knowing that we still can get the South the guys from the South, but you can't just fully go 100% building the roster from the South. Like that's just not how it's going to be built. These guys it's a winter state, the weather, everything kind of under the sun. Like you can't just go 100% on Florida or Atlanta and Georgia, right? You got to have some of those big time guys and get those guys, but you got to have some foundation firm guys that are from here and around this region, so they understand the power of the Big Ten. Like this is where it's really built. So I do believe he's standing on those firm foundation. We're going to recruit in-state, our neighboring states, and get this back to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And we're not going to forget Illinois too. That's a big state is a neighboring state that, it's big, because you talk about you touched on it there. You talked about almost the psychology behind college football and the regional geography and how that ties into the spirit of the school, the alumni base. My parents went to that school, or, I've grown up watching that school. I've been in those stadiums as a young child, watching that team because it was down the road from my parents' home, or where I grew up. That makes a big difference. That's the separation between college football and the NFL, as we know, because NFL you can't really choose if you're not named Eli and Peyton Manning. The Mannings are, guys like that can tell people where they're going to go. You have to go do it. In college, you have an option, and if you completely ignore them, I agree with you, then it can build up dissension. Like you can see people who don't like that. If you don't offer them, look what we see as evidence just the other day. Here, quarterback Sam Levitt, who is an Oregon native. He was passed over by the in-state school, Oregon State. So much so that now he's at Michigan State, and that same staff comes right to where he's at, thousands of miles away, and he can't let it go, right? And whatever vibe he got, whatever feeling he got, he was done, right? And that's the thing about in this world that we live in college football. We know NIL is a big deal, and it can make the world, the universe, a lot smaller than it used to be, especially when you and I played the game. And back when I played, I mean, look, it is what it is, right? There is no transfer.
Yeah, you got to sit out. You ain't about to do that.
Right.
Nobody's sitting out, man. Like, just, stick it out.
Exactly. I think that, he's doing, I'm talking about Coach Smith now, he's doing a phenomenal job of trying to hit the ground running in the local area. But you're going to see, I can't imagine with all of his ties out west that we're not going to see an influx of players from the West Coast, be it current players on the Oregon State roster or other high schools that he has connections with out there, that he'll be able to relate with those players and describe what it's like in East Lansing to get them comfortable enough to come out. And what NIL does in that case is make it easier. There's sometimes the player, the parents or the family or, friends, if you grew up in Detroit, it's much easier to come over to East Lansing. But if you grew up in Eugene or somewhere in Washington State or California, you're not driving to the game. However, the new Big Ten footprint, you have an opportunity to attract some of that local talent as well, because you'll be traveling to those schools now on more of a regular basis. But the NIL also allows the parents to be able to get to the games a little easier. Is that what you see?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. Like, you with his powers and, like, who he is, I haven't got a chance to, like, talk with him, sit down with him, right? But from his DNA of what he built at Oregon State and being an alum there, you're gonna start seeing some West Coast love in our recruiting a lot more, knowing that he knows he knows that area, he knows that region. It's going to help us, obviously, knowing that we're going to be playing Oregon next year, next season. You're going to have UCLA, USC at one point in time. You're going to have at least two out of every year going across to play against them, right? So that's an element where you can use as a recruiting advantage. Hey, we're in the Big Ten. Your family will be able to see you play, twice out of the year, or even more depending on the scheduling. But I think that's, to your point, is like he has more resources. It's crazy to understand that the amount of resources he had at Oregon State and what he did, and now you put our resources behind it, is like what this man can do and his staff can do. It's going to be interesting to see. Like, we're going to sit back and be watching and supporting his former players. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does it.
Oh, yes. And we know, you and I both know, those former players are anxiously awaiting being able to connect with the new coaches. He has said that it's vitally important to the strength of the program to connect with the past, to get those players integrated into the program so that they can help recruit and do a lot of the things that you see top-notch programs doing. To your point, Otis, you brought up the resources. And we have a graphic that we can pull up here that talks about the resources, the difference between Oregon State and Michigan State, which is a better job. I think this is an outstanding graphic here.
Yeah, this is kudos to whoever is this at. Somebody I came as TIA.
It's a TJ Altimore.
Altimore.
Got to give you some love.
Got to give you some love, because look, I'm all about graphics and charts here, because I let him breathe that, right? But when you look at this, you just ask the question, what is the better job? I mean, from someone's career, like this is like you saying, hey, I'm trying to pick between, going to in my career as a corporate partner or corporate working in corporate America, is like this is the stuff you put to on the board, like the advantages, disadvantages, the pros, the cons, and then right here it's all the pros and advantages is outweighing to the green and white. So for him and his career, his family, and even let's talk about the staff too. The staff getting the opportunity to come into the Big Ten, and that opens up doors for them and their families an opportunity. So it's bigger than just obviously Coach Smith, and I think he understands that. If you look at his staff, very diverse as well, and you see where he's bringing that same mantra. When you look at it, talk about mantras, right? Like he already said one good thing that I'm like, this is absolutely like that was. I don't know if he was strategic with it or not, but like that one mantra, which we will show from his press conference, like that's what we need. Like
let's
right
go. You're
now,
bringing it up. Let's
to
call it up.
Yeah, let's call it up.
Yeah, I think from the start we're gonna, low ego, high output, selfless. I think football is the ultimate team game. Walking in, there's these roster sizes now getting over 120 some odd guys. There's 11 guys on the field. I think it's the ultimate team game. No shot at Coach Izzo over here, but you play hoop, man. You put 4 guys over here and let LeBron play one-on-one. That can take place up schematically and all of that. Football's a little different. And so it's the ultimate team game on that of being selfless and being a great teammate.
Low ego, high output.
Yes. Like, and I think that's the element of like, you can never be bigger than the program. That's anywhere, in my opinion, right? Like, you can never be bigger than the program. Now, you got all-stars, you got playmakers, but there's still an element that this is a team game. And even on and off the field, you got to be about the program and for your teammates and representing the green and white. And I think, not say we got away from that. I don't think we did. But there were some things, there was a lot of egos, a lot of things that you got to manage now because we making money, we making money now. So when we come making money, there's an element that comes with that. So I like that he's like, hey, I know you're going to be a star player, but you still got to have a low ego and you got to be high output. Like your ego is going to come with, making plays, right? Your brand is going to be coming with NIL when you make plays and you produce on the field. You still got to produce. And so I just want to look to see how he does his game management too, where I'm going to start looking at the old games that he had at Oregon State. How did he win these close ones and how did he manage? Because that's where we were kind of losing or lacking is the management of the game, the entire game of like playing chess, making sure like we're halftime adjustments. How is he doing it and how is he letting his staff lead it as well? I'm looking to come do some investigating on that next week or so as we start to roll out and get to know Coach Smith as we go.
I mean, a lot of great points you just brought up there. Alan Haller, athletic director from Michigan State University, he brought up in the press conference about, Jonathan Smith's style, like no flash. He brought that up. And I know, there's been a lot of players that talked about this, about the way the direction of the program up to this point was, what was the identity of Michigan State football? And when you think about Michigan State overall, you think about grit, you think about determination, and you don't think about a lot of flash. You think about guys like Tom Izzo. He's all determination and grit. He's not like a me guy. He's us, we are. Is that what Chew would say?
That's how Chew says. Us, we are mentality. Yeah. Not a me,
my. Yeah, that's right. He's totally not that. And then the mantra that he just said: low ego, high output. Ego, in my thesaurus here, there's another word with it. It's called pride, and we know
pride
all-time winningest coach.
The fall.
There
right?
It is.
Man, when he said that, I was like, man, like I know that's in the word, but I'm like, why does he keep saying it? Why does Coach D keep saying it? And then when it happens to you, like it happened to me, like in preseason, like you start to be like, oh, I'm making plays, I'm out here getting it, I'm straight, I'm good. But you will be humbled really quick and if you really fast. And to your point, I feel like the fall came really quick because we were after that 11-2 season, I mean, you would have thought we won a natty. You know, I think that's the element, right? So, yeah, I like he's coming with the humbleness. He's coming with we got to put our boots on. We got to get our hands dirty. We got to build this back up. Like the house is falling, we got to put it back together. And so I like that energy starting out. Very smooth when he was talking, like addressing the conversation, addressing the media. And, you know, I think you probably need to hold off on that analogy of basketball because, you know, coach is that great. Like,
it is the ultimate team.
Right.
Man.
It is. But, you know, he was like, you don't know, man. Like, X's and O's coming from Izzo. He's using football analogies and football schemes. So he's more than what he knows. So you got to go ahead and get in the office one-on-one with him.
I mean, from a personal note, man, one thing I can't stand about the game of basketball is the ticky-tackness, man. Like, you know, you can't breathe on a guy without a foul being called, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that's why I appreciate Tom Izzo when I watch Michigan State basketball because he's not ticky-tack at all. Like, he teaches, like, relentless intensity and physical. You know, those guys, I mean, they're on the floor going after rebounds and all those great things. I mean, we're just in the beginning of the basketball season. We're going to cover that ad nauseum as we continue on in the basketball season. But Tom Izzo really embodies that grit, that determination. And, you know, I know Coach Smith coming from Oregon State, everybody thinks, okay, he's an offensive guy. He can scheme a lit. The world is watching right now about who are the defensive coaches that he's going to bring on staff. That's still kind of up in the air right now. Obviously, Harlan Barnett is a candidate out there that he's talked with, and he's going to consider for a position there. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be. But when you look at Michigan State defensively, you being a former defensive player, what would you like to see? What kind of style of play would you like to see this staff push for Michigan State football?
I would like to see, and like I feel like the secondary took leaps and bounds of like improvement, right? Like you had Mangum, you got Malik Spencer, you got Dylan Tatum, and you got Rucker. Like you got a solid crew like that. If they stay and they, you know, remain here, like that is a great working group. Secondary, they have some lumps. They got some great experience on the field. If you dissect it, secondary is in a good spot from a standpoint of like, you know, I do hate that we lost Salgado, and congratulations on him landing back into the NFL. But like that was a guy who came in and helped us get back to where it needed to be. And then, you know, for me, I'm looking at how do we make sure that we're getting home to putting pressure on the QB, and we're punching in the mouth, but we're also elite. We're fast. I just want our linebackers to be able to do more in the coverage game for us too. Like that's an element where countless of times, and I've told you all this, I've sat there and seen people run right past without getting no reroutes. Like there's an element of like reroute to get to hook curl, reroute to get to flats. Like I just want to see more of a well-balanced mid-level for our defense. Because when you saw Narduzzi as D coordinator, when you saw that where we had guys going, they basically was animals on the run, animals in the pass, right? And I think that's the standpoint of all three levels. We need a D coordinator who's going to keep you guessing, but it's also going to be able to make the adjustments and not wait till halftime, right? Like it's adjustments on the fly. And I think that's where you know, Coach Smith, praying he's bringing a D coordinator that has the track record of doing that, like competing in game, knowing that they've done the research, they've done the film study. They've also are coaching and making our guys smarter players on the field because we have talent. You know, we have talent, but you got to be able to be smart on the field and know what to see, how to expect things, and just ball out. I think that's the element of just playing free and carefree football. I think that's what I'm looking for in a D coordinator. And some of the defensive staff guys, being able to develop these guys to where they're going out there and they're making the adjustments, or they're coming out and saying, we need to change this, or we need to run this, check to cover two, or sometimes like if you get beat man to man, like we cannot play man to man if we don't have the rush. I think there's elements where you gotta adjust. So I just want a coordinator to be able to be an adjustable guy that can really give us the 3 and outs because we struggled to get 3 and outs. Like we struggled, and so that's what I'm looking for.
You know, I mean, you said a lot there, and when you look at the players that are available, we got to cover the portal update since Tuesday's show, and you know, this is the new era of modern college football where it seems like every hour we get an update on someone who's hitting the portal. From just 48 hours ago, we had more people going into the portal. You look at Jerron Glover, wide receiver, Michael O'Shaughnessy, the punter, offensive lineman, another offensive lineman, and Brandon Baldwin. And there hasn't been many defensive players, but Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Detroit Loyola, right down the road, has decided to hit the portal, and he has did nothing but continue to improve on that interior. And I know, like me personally, and I know you as a defensive player and a former player, both of us, we really hope that, you know, there's a couple of those guys that Michigan State can get back into the graces of coming back. I know that the testing the waters is a thing right now, but when you look at the defensive side, it can get worse. And again, this show has been taped, so we don't know. It may at 8:00 tonight, we may have seen more of these portal entries, but the defensive players that I've talked to, have said they are watching who the defensive staff is before they make decisions whether or not to get into the portal or to stay with Michigan State. What are your thoughts on that?
Straight, that's a great question. For me as a defensive guy, if I know I'm a player, if I know I'm a playmaker, and I played a lot of snaps, I will say this is a challenge for me as a player to know that I got to learn a new system. You're going to learn a new system anyway. If you hit the transfer portal, you get picked up, then go somewhere else. So it's kind of like you've already established a ground framework here with the green and white, and it's given them like what are they going to wait for on like who that coordinator is? Is it the scheme he runs? You know, are we going 4-3? Are we going 3-5? Like what are they waiting for versus like you're going to play multiple fronts and multiple defensive schemes in the league anyway, right? So there's an element of, am I going to look at this as a challenge and be able to say, hey, I went through and endured this coaching change and a new scheme, new system. Now, granted, when Coach D took over that system, it took me a minute. It took me a minute personally. I mean, others adapted very well, but it took me a minute to really understand the whole defensive scheme, how I fit, how I'm supposed to play as a safety, because the previous defensive scheme was safeties made, I mean, all the plays, right? Not all the plays, but we were heavily involved, right? So when you come and got a guy that's defensive minded with Coach D, there's an element of expectations. Now, I guess that's maybe what they're looking for, they're waiting for. I do hope that the core guys that we know, you know, the Jordan Halls of the world, like Derek Harmon, like testing the waters to me is, I get it. It's been crazy the past 2 years here. Like, I get it. Like, pure exhaustion is just need a new, fresh fit, right? And I get it. Understand it. This is the day and age. You can do it, then you're able to do it. This is the rules now. But I would say is sticking with the program. It's kind of like going to like LeBron or Kobe playing for one team, right? Not getting traded or go play somewhere asking for trades. I feel like this is an element that, you know, it is okay. You're not being looked down upon about testing the waters, but like, is it pure because of the NIL opportunities, or is it because you're not playing, or is it just truly you need a different fit? For me, I'm like, if I'm playing, I'm revelous. I'm excited to accept this challenge. If I'm already playing with that last staff and this new staff coming in where they're evaluating, yeah, like I remember Coach D coming in saying, hey, everybody, it's a clean slate. You got to work for your job, basically. For me, it was like, man, you get nervous because you did do a lot of work before. But in the flip side, it's a challenge. It's something that you rise up and accept. So I hope these guys look at the pros and the cons We already looked at that statistics, Trey, and people hit the portal. It's not a guarantee you getting picked up. So why leave a situation where you've been putting in some time on the field just to go somewhere and you got to restart that whole framework? You know what I mean? Like, it's an element. It's not the grass ain't greener on the other side. So it's just that.
So there's you said then there's man, you're just spitting jewels out here right now, because getting to the point, because going back to the point where Jonathan Smith comes in here, and there are clearly going to be some players who are going to test the waters just to see what's out there. And then this was his quote regarding those players. He says, "We've had some conversations, and again, I understand why players would enter, and we're not down on it." Smith said, "These guys have been through a lot. We've only been here for 48 hours, but we're having conversations." So look, obviously this team, you brought it up, 2 years of, hey, it's been rocky. Clearly this year, after week 2 at midnight, their world was flipped upside down. And you have a whole new, rearrangement of musical chairs in the coaching staff room. And you're trying to find a way to get through. The portal, here's the thing that I would say to you, what's different for your time when you had a coaching change and my time is we didn't have anybody slide into our DMs. There's no such, there was no such thing as that, where coaches are talking to these players and talking about, man, we got the perfect scheme for you. We're going to highlight your skill set. We're going to make you, an NFL draft pick, and we're going to pay you money. These are the things that today's player is hearing, that's in their ear, and it's hard to get away from it if you're one of these players. It's hard to fault them. You see it right here. We're having those conversations, and again, I understand why. This is why they will entertain these things, because then they're going to look and see what the staff is going to be. Because if you see it all over, you see it where if a coordinator comes in and he's, hey man, look, we're going to run, just 4 defensive backs, just a basic 4-3. Maybe a guy who's we call it the nickel feels like, man, or maybe I don't have an opportunity to shine here. Whereas this school over here, they play with 5 DBs in their normal base offense, or if it's 3 down linemen versus a 4 down lineman, maybe, certain body types, 3 techniques are kind of out of the water in the 3 down lineman scenario. There's different strokes for different folks that are out there. That's why I can't fault them. Yes, you want them to play, like our stars, the guys who are playing. This isn't the guys who, if you're not playing, if you didn't play much at Michigan State, I don't know why you're going to the portal. If you're just going into the portal to go to a different school who will play you, which typically means you're going to go down in division or down in a level of school, that's fine. Other guys, let's stay and fight through this. And let's, like you said, you felt like it took you a little bit longer to get Coach D's defense when Pat Narduzzi came in versus what it was with John L. But you were a guy who was on the precipice of being a star, an all-conference performer, an NFL player. Other guys now Otis Wiley comes out in 2024, right? You're going into 2024, Otis Wiley. Man, you're a big safety, and we can feature you here. We had 10 All-Americans. We just had 8 guys going to NFL over the last 6 years over here in your position, Otis, your position. I'm the coach that coaches your position. And you're going to, yeah, I bleed green, but like, wait a minute. And they said they're going to pay me? These are the reasons that we're going to get into that conversation a little bit more in a moment about what the portal looks like and really the landscape of that regarding NIL, because it's just totally different than what we grew up in and what we've seen. It's hard to fault the players today for what they're going through because of those facts that I just named. But we're going to talk about that and more after these messages from our friends over at IHOP and SeatGeek.
Introducing IHOP's new menu with perfectly crispy yet fluffy waffles, warm, flaky buttermilk biscuits, juicy, satisfying steak burgers, decadent eggs Benedicts, and more. It's time to find your new favorite. Don't worry, we won't tell the pancakes. Only at IHOP. Let's put a smile on your plate.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like the High Five Strangers guy. Game-winning interception? First down? Just a nice, solid tackle. If you're in arm's length, you will be swapping skin with this extrovert. You see, he knows SeatGeek got him a great deal on tickets, so he can focus on what he does best, smacking palms. SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
Dropping them stacks and them tickets. We got to love it. Look, Otis, we got to get into this because, there's a couple of topics. We want to talk about the transfer portal and how that relates to Michigan State football, what's going on in the marketplace. There was an article just released today from Outkick, it looks like, Outkick.com, that talked about preparing for another round of free agency. Transfer portal open Sunday, and donors are ready to spend. It just came out last night. And, it goes deep. There was a quote from one of our Big Ten head coaches in Nebraska, Matt Rule, who said a good quarterback in the portal costs $1 million, $1.5 million to $2 million in NIL. That's just what it is. Yeah. So he's setting the table right there saying that this is the market that we're in. And you look at Michigan State's positions of need, and we can go through that in detail. Otis, like when you talk about this from a head coach, and we've seen other head coaches talk about NIL, what is your opinion on how this state and how Michigan State can be dominant and navigate through this in this current market?
Yeah, that's a good question, Stray. I honestly want to know, like, what is considered a good quarterback? Because a good quarterback making $1 or $2 million, like that, we're talking like that's crazy, right? But like you're talking about the great quarterbacks, the ones that have proven and played and have success and have entered, the portal. You think about, their market. Are they marketable? Their full ceiling of what they made. Like clearly they're not going less than what they were making where they're leaving. I think there's an element that here at Michigan State is we have a lot of education. It's obviously we know what it has to do. We know what has to be done. I think there's an element of like we can no longer sit and say like, hey, if guys want to be here, they'll be here. Like, because that's definitely like not the case because we've seen it. We have all three of our quarterbacks are in the portal, and there's an element of like, well, we gotta bring somebody in here, and it's crazy to think that this guy is going to make more than a lot of employees internally on his campus combined, but this is it. This is how it's been built. So for us, I just want us to be strategic, but clearly you gotta open up the checkbook because you've seen Dion, Coach Prime, start like we're not an ATM. Like you're not going to come here and just try to make bank, right? And then on the flip side, say, hey, donors, we need more money. And so there's a give and take. Like you got to be able to compete. Like, and it's if you don't compete, you don't get the players. It's going to be a really big arms race to get the right players in here to be able to win games. But I was talking to someone today, and we brought up the education piece. Like, this is no longer about education anymore. Like, this is no longer about your degree. Like, it's sad. Academia, it's just sad that we're not saying, hey, who has the best college program for me? No, it's like, man, this is time to make all your money now so you can – this is generational wealth. Now we talking with these kids who some come from nothing, some come from good stock, but – that's money that can really help trajectory and put them in a good spot after football's done. Because clearly the percentage is low of going to the NFL. So why not make your money now? I mean, you got quarterback, USC's quarterback, Williams, right? He's like waiting on the last day deadline. Should I come back? Because I'm making money. Like, I'm making more than anybody. Like, not anybody. He's making bigger than league minimum. So why sit there and go to the league versus, like, I can see if I can win a championship next year. So, like, there's the element of, like, guys are now deciding that I will make more in the collegiate level than I will make in the NFL right now, and that is mind blowing. But that's what this landscape is. So for us at Michigan State, we got to be aggressive, because we got to do what we're saying we want to do. We got to go out and do it, and it just is what it is. This is the football race right now. Basketball, Coach Izzo has a product. He has a brand that's consistently, year in, year out, that's Coach Izzo, though, right? Now with these new coaches coming in, they can't do what that is, because he's been here for so long. You got to go out and get the players, and you got to mean what you say, and you got to, own up to your commitment. We need you. All right, this is our price. Or, hey, you got to be aggressive, because if not, we are going to be without a QB if we can't get nobody in here. Apparently, we're seeing this right now from Oregon State's, rumors of him coming, to Michigan State, entering the portal. And this basically, we're talking about Aiden Charles, right?
Oh, Aiden. Let's get specific on that. We're talking about different positions of need, because you talked about Deion Sanders kind of doing an about face a minute ago, saying, hey, we're not going to be an ATM for players. But then after he got his butt kicked by Utah, he says, we definitely need giving. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate to say this, but some kids cost. You just can't sit here and talk about great coaching and great this and that all we want. But it's going to be a credit card swipe with all these guys going to these playoffs, and I understand that. So what you're saying there, it is a talent acquisition business as pure as the driven snow in America right now. It is about capitalization. And when you talk about education, academia, if you are a player who is Power 5 worthy, a guy who is being recruited by Power 5 school, typically the Power 5 schools' academics are, on par, especially in the Big Ten. You look at SEC, the now defunct Pac-12, as my broadcast partner calls it, but Big 12, ACC, all the Pac-2.
Yeah,
those places,
the Pac-2,
$2 bill, $2 bill, y'all. We appreciate guys who sent we put that collection plate last week. A couple of days ago, that would be Steve Smith and Cal Ferret. We appreciate that. Didn't want to miss that. But listen, look, it's a different world now, and what do you do? Like, academics are on par everywhere, but what's the difference? Like, do you want, I seen a tweet earlier today, we saw it in our chat, that a 3-star player had an offer of $225 from this school, $200 from that school, and $175. These are hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Okay. From 3 different schools, and they named the schools. They wouldn't name the player. That is so, look, we hear this, right? We have guys and players and kids all over the country that talk about this, and this is where college football is right now. You said Aiden Childs, okay? There's a lot of rumors about him potentially coming to Michigan State. He's the freshman quarterback that just played a season in Corvallis. I'm not sure if he was able to keep the red shirt or not. I know that he played. You look at their starting quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei. DJ.
Look at you.
Yeah. That's the 5-star from Clemson, goes over to Oregon State. It specifically for Jonathan Smith. His father, Dave, is a lightning rod of an individual. He's got a younger brother at Oregon. Okay, so that they're St. John Bosco kids, same school that produced Caden Hauser. Okay, so there we go. Tony G tells right there. No, he played in 5 games, so he did burn his red shirt. So he only has 3 years of eligibility remaining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, unless he petitions in some way. Hey, Charles, at this point, again, this is not 8 p.m. for us. We did tape this show a little earlier today. has not hit the portal. You saw DJ's father being outspoken. He was upset about how Coach Smith left. I haven't seen a coach leave a school where the school that
wasn't accepted.
Everybody was picked off. I remember we were pissed off that how Saban left, and we're crying about that. And I know that, with Perlis, he was fired. I know that John L. was fired, and Mel, was fired for cause as well. These are different situations, but when a team another school lures your coach away, seemingly for money and a better opportunity, as we just described in the graphic earlier in this show, people are upset. So you get this feeling like, okay, well, maybe DJ is going to stay and stick it out in Corvallis. And then, boom, here we see DJ Uiagalelei's intent is to enter the portal. You like that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's to enter the portal. And he's also available. Now, what say you about that? Like, you have these opportunities to talk about what is a good quarterback. You have a proven guy who's been at 2 schools now. Right now, the pro scouts say that DJ is probably a 4th or 5th round pick if he does decide. And that's what his decision process is going to be, whether he's going to go to another school or go into the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think there's, do we have time to bring someone in fresh and in hope that they can convert to this level, like you going after a freshman in this next class and then, automatically be true freshmen, or you go find someone who's proven, who's shown that they can play in big games. I don't know. It's a toss up because, yes, we know we're going to be in a rebuilding year, but when you look at our schedule straight, you look at it where there's an opportunity, depending on who all comes back, who's in the locker room by the time we sign in February. We have an opportunity to go 7-5. If you look at the games, there's 4 games that are primetime power games for us, matchups. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, those are winnable games. Those are games that, this past year we were in. So this could be an opportunity to hey, let's go and just find our guy, starting from the ground up, freshman class, and throw him out to the fire like other schools do. Alabama will start a true freshman quickly, right? Find someone who has the mechanics and you're able to groom them to what you need them to be, knowing that year one we're going to have some trials. Not saying that this freshman quarterback could be better than what we had this past year in all 3 quarterbacks, or just know you want to come up with a pretty penny to go get a top star quarterback in the portal, and we got to commit to that. It's a happy medium there. So I think there's an element where Coach Smith has to make that decision as he's out on the road recruiting. You got to think about he's going to recruit young kids, seniors, coming in the next class, but he also is going to recruit some maybe top 5 to 10 guys in the portal that can help truly jumpstart what they are built and what they're trying to get done here.
Yeah, looking at that, you see it around the country. You're seeing it from a lot of well-respected coaches, well-respected programs. They may be great at developing players, but you see that quarterback market, that secondary quarterback market, is just like shoes nowadays. People used to do trading cards. Yeah. Now they do Jordans and all kinds of different sneakers, right? The secondary market, like Jordans may retail at, I don't know, $300, but secondary market, they're going for $1,500, okay, or more. It's the same way. You have a recruit that comes in as a quarterback out of high school, and his value may be X. But when you see him play, as you've seen Aiden Childs play, or better yet, a DJ Uiagalelei play, where okay, this guy is a plug-and-play guy. He knows this system. He's played in huge games all over the country. You see them putting a premium. There was a tweet a couple of days ago. I saw that there was one quarterback, I believe the Washington State quarterback.
The Wazoo quarterback got $10 million offers.
And up. Yeah. Yeah. And when we getting back to that point about a guy like Caleb Williams, Caleb's he's right there on the fence, right? You did the number 1 pick. Everybody says he's the consensus number 1 pick in the NFL draft.
I don't think that's true though. Unless you trade up, clearly somebody's going to trade up. But if the Bears got the number one pick, like we can talk about that in another situation, another episode. But your boy Marvin Harrison is a good.
The value. Here's the problem with it because I understand. And look, receivers are getting there because the receivers' value in the free agent market they're above $25 to $30 million per year. Quarterbacks, I mean, you're talking close to $60 million per year. So this is why if you have a quarterback that is very good as a rookie, and you can get him on a rookie deal, and you're only say it's the number one pick. You're paying them. It's a 40. Last year, number one pick is a $41.2 million contract. That's a 5-year deal, right? That's $8 million a year. Now, chump change in the world of quarterbacks in the NFL on their second deal and beyond in the free agency market, but still much more per year than what he's even getting and commanding at USC. I know his, team is saying that, hey, we can hold out and go back. I think he's in that $4 million range right now at USC. Still, message to those guys that from the Caleb Williams camp.
He's in commercials, man. Like he can come back. He in commercials, bro.
Heisman commercials, real deal. Yeah, not the local car company. Now, but guys like the dude down the road, number 2, little boy, little Corum, Blake, running back, decides to come back. Right? He clearly, I think he's in the $2 million range or something at Michigan. He clearly is making more than he would in the pros.
Right. And selling vacuums too, door to door, they ain't gonna get it either. So
hanging out with those stallions. Is that what he doing? The old little guy hanging out with those stallions. It's all love. Not really, but it is. So look, I mean, it is mind-boggling to see where this thing is, how it's unfolding. But look, quarterbacks. We saw it happen to us a year ago with Peyton Thorne. He goes into the portal and is a starter. It was up and down for him at Auburn, but he was right there on the cusp of beating Alabama in the Iron Bowl just a week ago. You want guys who have been battle tested, and those guys command a lot of money, as you put it there. Otis?
I don't blame Keon because Keon's a different breed, right? Like Keon had to get out of here, and you see this man is all conference, first team all ACC, and close to trying to get that bid and playing the ACC championship, but also trying to get the bid to win the Blitnikoff. With him competing with Marvin Harrison, like that would not. I mean, he would probably put up some numbers, but the numbers he put up in Florida State. So that's a situation that's different. I think these guys saw that too, being here. It's like, man, Keon got out and got to a system that fit him when, like, to your point, highlighted his expertise, his skill set to get him to be a first-round draft pick. Now, it's not like that for everybody. But when you see it, you clearly got to say, oh, my gosh, you got to take a chance. Like, if you feel it in your gut, you got to take a chance. You got to do the opportunity because this rule, the NIL, allows you, it's afforded you the opportunity to do that. But it all ain't like where you seem bad, you seem good, you seem great, and you just don't want to be a guy who's going to get in that portal and you're so prideful that you're not going to get picked up and then you on the streets. And that's what I don't want to happen to any of our guys, right? So you got to be strategic. You got to be strategic in this situation here where, you got a full ride scholarship and you can go to work in the off season and be able to have a ball out year this next season with a new coaching staff, resurgence. Think about that outcome versus I'm sitting here just hoping and praying that somebody got a spot for me on the roster. That's a difference.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. And look, again, this show is taped, and I know I can feel it in the chat group right now. There's somebody saying, but Keon had better stats at Michigan State than he did down there in Florida. I guarantee somebody, maybe Trevor or somebody like that, is probably saying that right about now. But look, it's a lot about, trusting the player. And Keon wants to be featured. And he went down there, and there was already a number one receiver. That first game against LSU, this is how the NFL scouts look at it.
He had to do nothing else.
Man,
after that game,
right there.
I was solidified, like, I don't care what conference I am. I'm the best dog out here.
Right.
That's the element. Like, yeah, he had stats are less than what he was here, but he
Not
also
touchdowns.
bought out not touchdowns, but also primetime games is where he bought out too.
That's it.
And you in the ACC championship, and you win, and you're almost in that college football playoff, depending on how it plays out.
Shakes out, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, at first, yeah, man, I would love for him to be in the green and white. But
all day long.
We know that guy needed to get out and be able to say, hey, I got a proven quarterback. We talk about I got a proven quarterback who can get me the football, who can give me that pigskin. And you said George Travis giving him that. He was giving it to him, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Unfortunately, Jordan got hurt, so he's not going to be playing in this. He got hurt 2 weeks ago. But
that
Keon,
freshman came in like
he don't look bad.
He looked bad.
He was a little slow, but he got knocked out. But he got going. He got going. But you look at guys like Keon. Now, yes, he had big games against Michigan and Ohio State. Because there was nobody that could stop him. But for whatever reason, we went away from him. And look, we may go scratch our head and say, why did they not go to him? He was, but if you are that person and you do have options, maybe you just think about it a little different, So, again, to the NIL discussion real quick, we'll get out of here in a minute, but there's a quote in the article from the Outkick that said, here's a donor at a program, a Power 5 donor told Outkick, I've got the university reaching out to me to help with facilities, while at the same time, the NIL group is looking for cash because of NIL. I'm being pulled in a different direction, whereas in the past, I would just donate to the athletic department, but we're in a different world now. He goes on to say, we need the players to compete. So I've changed how I support football. I want to see my team winning on Saturday. So if that means donating to the collective to get a star player, that's how I choose to help the program now.
And who was this?
They said Power 5 donor, one Power 5 donor. They didn't say where, but it's the attitude. And I know, look, we got a passionate fan base and we've got donors galore, but it's just getting everybody on that same page and say, whether they want to say, let's wait till we win to donate versus this is the mindset that we're competing against. That's all I'm wanting to get across. That's all we want to do is give you the facts. The ideology that we're competing against is that. That's why you're seeing these quarterbacks make these moves and you're seeing players test the portals. They want to test the waters because they're hearing that and they're getting that from other coaches around the world. And we can get into the tampering discussion another day. I don't care. They just must not be able to enforce the tampering, because I think the portal doesn't truly open until December 4th. But, man, we're seeing fireworks already.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, you're going to have to legit hire people to go and make sure that they're monitoring, in-season tampering.
How do you do it?
It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's almost like you got to report every transaction in your DMs or every interaction, just compliant. You legit hey, if you get an outreach to anyone, you got to document it and you got to report that, or there's some violations. You cannot. I don't care if it's your uncle, it's your analyst, or whoever it is. One of your high school coaches and the coach contact the high school coach. Hey, call Otis and call Strader. See if you want to make the switch. You can't. You got to clean it up, man, because it's happening every second of every day.
But see, some of this it reminds me of a quote I seen from a guy, one of the recruiting analysts, who said that there's been these coaches that are always complaining in the high school level because it's happening in high school too. Yeah. There's coaches poaching players left and right. At these large high schools, you see a lot of movement. Michigan is one of the most strict states in the MHSAA, but other states, it's a lot of movement out there, and people are always complaining. I mean, you hear fist fights between coaches, but when they broke it down, they said, "Look, I ain't reaching out to your players reaching out to me." And the same thing is happening in NIL. Everybody thinks tampering a lot of times. But there's what they call back channeling. Yeah. Back channeling. What that is players that go to their high school coach rather than the coach from a Power 5 going to the high school coach. The player goes to the high school coach and says, hey, I might be looking. That's more accurate as to how this unfolds. Until the player publicly announces, which you've seen, this is basically inviting coaches to slide in the DMs. When they put that, we've been seeing a lot of these graphics, these nice ones with the all the writing, all glory be to God. They got the uniform.
I know, man. I feel like people are, oh my gosh. It's
a lot of plagiarism.
It is the trend of like an AI bot of like writing your stuff. Like, you always
got the signatures.
I got to first thank the Lord, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but I'm leaving. It's like
I'll always love you. You'll always be in my heart. I'm looking for that. It's not go green, it's go cash, right? Go green.
And to me, it's gotta as a young man, knowing like there's some guys that are buttoned up and they financially know what they're doing and they're smart, but like it's gotta be exhausting mentally, bro. Like just the weight of like the uncertainty, the security in the future, like it's got to be exhausting, man, mentally to these guys. Like, there's so many options. There's so many, like, just free will to versus, like, the world's your oyster at this point, like, from every situation versus, like, man, I'm just glad I got here and I'm going to stay here regardless. And, like, that mentality is long gone. So it's sad, it's unfortunate, but it's got to be a tough battle these guys go through. Any student athlete, it don't matter about the male, the female, the women, or the man. It is a tough battle to understand, like, sticking something out versus, like, hitting the exit button as soon as one thing happened. I think that's an element of, like, it's tough. It is tough. But this is what they're living in, and this is the opportunity for them to do what they feel and pleased to do. But it's got to be exhausting mentally. And I pray for these guys' mental state because, you don't want to switch, but you got opportunities to. So, like, you'll be a fool to turn down this money, right? Like, it's it's crazy. Money is the root of all evil, but
no, the love of
money. There you go. The love of money. But
we always misquote that.
Yeah, we always do.
Society, we all do.
The love, because you need money to survive now. So
it's not everything, my father says, but it works.
Absolutely.
You brought me the Chuck Brantley. How we had him on the show when he was deciding to come back and how scary it was for him to go into the portal, and what it's like being in there at that time. I think as this continues to progress and evolve, players are getting less and less apprehensive. They're going in there and they know because they can put your left foot in, put your right foot out. They can get in and out pretty easily now if they so choose. And I think that there's a lot to be learned from this. And as we continue, Otis, look, man, we're going to break down more of this and we're going to follow this total trend. Obviously, this is where you get the news. Like I said, this is the only show about Spartan Dawgs hosted by Spartan Dawgs. So we're going to always bring you the real deal. We're going to have recruiting analysts on. We're going to have people from Oregon State once they are so inclined to join us after we can, the dust settles a bit in Corvallis. We're going to have current players and former players to discuss this in more depth on Tuesday's show. We've got to get into the X's and find out like what positions of need, because right now it's hard to see. We know quarterbacks, we absolutely need those guys, and offensive linemen, they've been pillaged for now. But we'll see how this thing shakes out and get into more of those details as it unfolds, as we always do. So until next time, for Otis Wiley, I'm Jason Strayhorn. This is Sparta MSU. Have a good night. God bless you. And go green.
Go white.
This is Sparta MSU is a combined presentation of Playfly Sports Properties and Michigan State Sports Properties. The show is produced by Tony LaBarbera, Tony Gustella, and Process Driven Consulting. Additional support is provided by Brendan Duravage. On-location technical support provided by Good Fruit Video. Be sure to follow our host Jason Strayhorn, Jehuu Caulcrick, and Otis Wiley on social media. To stay up to date with all the latest This is Sparta news, please like and subscribe by visiting our link tree and tell a friend to do the same. Thank you for your support, and as always, go green.